Hi guys, it's me again, Bit Entrepreneur. And if you check out my Facebook, I said I'm going to talk about what? Industry. Industry. Remember last week when I talked about a lot of things about how to start your own business. And number one on the list was industry. Industry. So today I'd like to tell you a few things. There are different ways of positioning your business in any industry. All industries have potential for more growth. All industries have potential for all these things going for them. So, for example, there are businesses who are disruptors. What do I mean by disruptors? Your business exists there. Not every business has to be a disruptor. Your business exists there to do what? To remove the old way of doing business and bring in a new age of doing business. So you are like an imaginer. You are imagining an alternative reality in the present. So you are what? A disruptor. Some businesses are what? Are future thinking. What do I mean by future thinking? So businesses just exist for the sole reason to push humanity's imagination to the next level. And if you're a future thinking business, you don't necessarily have to make profits, but you have to make impact. So your growth is measured by what? By impact. What are these ideas you've created? Cindy, they're going to be used by people who, when the market is ready to pay for it, they're going to be used in future to do what? To actually improve humanity's way of living and whatnot. For example, the people who started e-commerce. The first e-commerce was founded in the 1990s. And it did not take off. It made a lot of those until they closed out. I keep forgetting the name of that e-commerce, but it exists. And then in the beginning of the early 2000s, the beginning of Alibaba, the beginning of not necessarily 2000, the beginning of 1999 kusonga mbele, Alibaba, Amazon, that kind of business started taking off and they made profits. But there are businesses who burnt cash in the beginning of the industry, but they lay ground of how e-commerce would come to become in the years to come. And then we have painkillers. Painkillers like Vakenya. Vakenya is a painkiller. What do you mean by Vakenya being a painkiller? It is solving an existing pain point now. Does that make sense? Pain point now. The market is ready to pay for it, but the products do not exist. So, like, for example, people who have big foot, outlier sizes, tiny foot, that kind of thinking. Your foot is so small, like you're a size 35, and you're a whole adult woman. It's extremely hard to get shoes for. Size 35, that's like around number one. Viatu nizapatana kwa mtu kama huyo ni nini? Viatu toa watoto, and that kind of thinking. Sindio? So, someone like that will come to Vakenya and you can customize the number one into an adult fitting shoe. So those are called what? Painkillers. Those three categories of businesses. And then I have 10 things you could do to position your brand into solving any industry's problems or challenges and that kind of thinking. For example, you could take advantage of industry inefficiencies. Does that make sense? Industry what? Inefficiencies. Example, look at the entire supply chain from the back end to the last consumer. Right? So in industry inefficiencies, you're positioning your business to solve an existing what? Industry challenge that people, the existing players do not have the resources or the time, or for one reason or another. There's this entire gap that would have made their lives easier, either the consumer's lives or the producer's life easier, but no one is doing the work. A good example is like Alibaba. What do you mean by Alibaba? Alibaba existed in the time whereby China was manufacturing a lot of things, but they were not reaching what? The global market. So how did China end up positioning itself? Alibaba decided that they're going to do what? They're going to be the business that positions Chinese manufacturers to global what? To global consumers. Directly, it was B2B, from business to business. There are retailers who need these products. There are manufacturers who are producing these products. These are not necessarily found in China. They are found all over the world. So Alibaba was doing the work of bridging this gap because this work had to be done. And they leverage on what? On technology. That's what made them such a success. That is the first one. You could also take advantage of underserved markets. Underserved markets. Example. A good example will be equity. When banking started in Kenya, there were very, 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 very few banks. Like when you look at the history, KCB is one of the few industries that have stayed in the game for 100 years and whatnot. So they took, when equity started now taking off in the early 2000s, in the mid 2000s around there, they started taking off between the early 2000s going forward, right? When they started taking off, their business was very simple. They were taking care of Mwananchi. Imagine there were so many banks in Kenya, but none of them thought they could actually cater for what? A regular person who has an income, a small income, and whatnot and whatnot. Sindio, it was so surprising that their success became so successful. Nini Equity ni kampuni ya nini? Kampuni ya mwananchi. So they took advantage of what? Underserved markets. And this is a funny story. So the low-income areas have a lot of opportunities. They have a lot of challenges that if you pivot well, you could be able to do what? To make money. There's this other company called Fresh Life. You've never heard of Fresh Life? Check them out. Companies like Fresh Life, so they're serving underserved markets. There was this entire problem going on in around our low-income areas in Nairobi, whereby there was no sanitation. So this company came along and did an extremely simple thing. They made toilets. The business model is very simple. These toilets cost around 50,000 shillings, around $500. 1,000 shillings, Kenya shillings. So they give it to people who live around there, an adult, like say a mama or a kid, anyone who lives around that area gets it with a small deposit. And then every day they pay a small amount of money until the end of the year. So people come to use these toilets, and that is the end of the deal. After a year of repayment, the toilet belongs to them and it becomes an income generating business for them. So that was a great business model. And then every day, or at least I don't know, twice a week or every day, depending on where the toilets are based, the waste is picked and then taken to factories and converted into fertilizers. Then the fertilizers goes back to farms. So it's a circular economy. They are solving all these inefficiencies in a single industry. So you could also do something like that. And that thing, find out the gaps in the industry. What do I mean? Every industry has so many gaps. So what do existing gap? There, I'm sure you have heard about the gap so much. And every industry has gaps. Find about where the gaps exist. And I want today to educate you about something. Sometimes the gap is not to the consumer. Some companies are extremely efficient to working with consumers, but they have so many challenges in the back end. Like the company that was making robots that Amazon bought, right? So this company was amazing at making robots, and they were selling these robots to Amazon. Amazon wanajua story ya clients vizuri sana. Sometimes your client is not a consumer. Be very, very careful about that. So when you're told to find a gap in the industry, it's going as a consumer, you think about the entire model, the entire supply chain. Where is the biggest pain, or where is the biggest gap, and start innovating around that. The next thing, innovative products. What do I mean by that? These are products that people do not think they would take off. These are products that they come out of nowhere. You just had your light bulb moment. It has never been done before, probably. This is called innovation and all that kind of thinking. And then bring them to life. Trust your process. And when you're in an innovative space, be very careful. Okay, kubali matokeo. Sometimes the market is not ready for it. Maybe you're too early in the game. Sometimes maybe you're too late in the game and you get extremely over rewarded. Or sometimes that solution is not needed at all. But still, that should not get on the way of you doing what? Innovating your product. Okay. So innovative products, these are things that have probably never been done before, or it's a new idea and you want to explore it and whatnot. So now before you say you're an innovator, look back in history and confirm it has not been done before. Check out international, IPs, intellectual properties. Check on intellectual properties and make sure, before you call yourself an innovator, make sure it has ever been done before. There's another option, Cindy. And then the sixth thing, timing. Make sure your timing is right. And for you to know about timing, now you're looking for gaps, but the same gap is not in the present. The gap is in the past. What happened yesteryears that can be now this is the perfect time to innovate. Example, there was a company that in the early 2000s, they found the same model like Airbnb, and it failed. It failed thoroughly. But look at what happened when AB happened. AB happened post what? Post the financial crisis. People were trying to save as much. People were willing to give up the extra spaces they had in their houses. It was the perfect time to invent, to bring back the rent your own space or rent your own house business model to the market. And that's how Airbnb took off. People are looking for cheaper ways of travel. People are looking for extra income. So it was the market fit happened in this timing. That is another thing. And then another thing, industry challenges. And I keep going back to this, I think. I've said this in so many different ways, but let's go back to the industry challenges. Find out what challenges do these industries have, the particular industry you want to go to, and go for it. go for it. And when you're doing about the industry changes, it means you need to think outside the box. Think outside the box in this part of thing, because for challenges it means and also before you decide to say this is a challenge in the industry, you have to do a lot of research, you have to do a lot of testing, you have to do a lot of, so don't go big if you're trying to solve an industry challenge, because sometimes you might go into business and the existing businesses were really to solve said challenge. Sasa people wanataka kusema industry imekuwa na hii challenge, mimi naletea hiyo solution. Kumbe the industry was already ready, was already ripe and mature enough to say now we are stable enough, we are willing to solve what this pain we have been feeling over the years. So before you go there, test kidogo kidogo, pilot it, and then see how they're taking it up, and then confirm. There's this business that used to it was a software business, right? So this software business was trying to find an efficient way of collecting garbage in New York. Wow, I know so much about American businesses, guys. It's not fair. They were trying to find they were trying to be garbage collectors using big data. So in the beginning, they wanted to have their own garbage collection centers and their own people to do the work, but the market iliwakataa kabisa. Then they went back to the drawing board and realized, for us, we could be a technology company. We could only sell these softwares to people who are already so efficient in the industry and show them how it's time to collect the time to collect when it's time to collect a certain garbage, so that they don't need to be sending people, and then they come and find that apparently the garbage is even still full and that kind of thinking. Mona. So even when you're doing this, check the industry and then see how best you can position yourself, or what is the best place you fit. Sometimes you don't even need to be dealing with consumers. I keep going back to that. Another thing, complementing services. It's right now in the 21st century, and this is about collaboration, not competition. So those services matter, and the service industry has come so much well because of the technology industry. We have so many services, like for example things like Safeboda, Uber, Bolt. Those are they are complementary services. There are people already good at doing ferrying people from point A to point B. But now, usually the inefficiency in that industry was very simple. Customer kwa hapa anataka taxi iko pale haina customer. So when these two came together, ikamaanisha customer anataka hapa ndio taxi anataka na ikuje mpeleke at an agreed price enye client ako willing to pay. Such kind of thing. And that's it. If your business is a disruptor, I talked about disrupting in the beginning. If you're thinking about disrupting an industry, you need to be future thinking. So, for example, what's happening in the industry right now? And what do you think will happen in the next 10 years? You see, example, by 2030, Africa will have the largest number of middle class. In 2030, Africa will have the largest number of consumers. Africa will have the largest number of youth. See, so anyone you see right now, the reason why Africa is trending is because there are people who are thinking about tomorrow. By the time Africa hits 2 billion people, I want to be there. By the time they hit 6 billion people, I want to be catering for this market. So you're thinking future today. So when you're thinking futuristic, remember your entire business model needs to be telling even your investors, your partners and whatnot, we are working today to solve tomorrow's problem. And you agree to that. So your business model has to be long shot. Your idea has to be future oriented, not today oriented. Like personally, I am so obsessed with Africa because of that. I see the potential. There's this mama called Adichie from Nigeria. He once said that to Africa, to do your business in Africa, you have to love her more than her challenges. You have to look at her potential more than what she is right now for you to be able to work in Africa. And that is extremely important. And to wrap this up, because I don't want to be boring you guys with very, very long articles, very, very long videos. So, and to wrap this up is this. Remember this. You go into an industry, challenges exist. The industry could be ready for disruption. The industry could be ready for a new philosophy, which is future thinking. Or the industry could have some pain that needs painkillers. So find out. Or even sometimes if the industry is overserved, it might need, remember that, if the industry is extremely overserved, it might be looking for probably low-cost products or luxury products or mid-cost products. It does not matter. The entire market is versatile, but be very careful how you do your research. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching. Click, subscribe, like, and share. I hope we stay the course. The last video had 110 views. That is huge, fam. Huge. I hope we take this side to the next level. Let's keep learning, growing, and whatnot. And if I've not said something, leave it in the comment section. Tell me something I've not said about industry. I would like to hear your thoughts about it also, and we could keep discussing. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a fruitful weekend and week ahead. Bye.